the sad eyes. Don't be discouraged, oh, I realize it's hard to take courage in a world full of people. You can lose sight of it all, and the darkness inside you makes you feel so small.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You could be the outcast or be the backlash of somebody's lack of love. But I wonder what could happen. I see your true colors shining through. I see your true colors, and that's why I love you. So don't be afraid to let them show. I wanna see you, just wanna see you. I wanna see you, I wanna see you be brave. Show me your smile. Everybody's been there, everybody's been scared. Now we can't remember what the fear and justice. That's all you have done to the mighty. This world makes so crazy, and take it all for granted. Just hold me, baby, there's a way out of the hatred. Call me, I'm gonna make you stay. She had the light, and call me, show, come on. How big your brain is. Say what you wanna say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. What you wanna say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. Don't be afraid to let them show the true colors, the true colors are beautiful. And since your history of silence, I can't remember when I saw you laughing. Let your words be anything but empty. Was Georgie yelling? Would you know I'll be there? Can I see your say what you wanna say, and let the words fall out. Honestly, I wanna see you be brave. See no to be afraid. I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. I wanna see you. Just wanna see you. Oh, I wanna see you. Don't be afraid.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight on our midweek worship experience as we come together in this Easter week, this first Wednesday after Easter, and so we're really excited as we are in the time of the church where we're celebrating the risen Christ and really what the core of Christianity is about. So we thank you for taking time to be here with us tonight. We are still doing our socially distancing and holding virtual worship, so we thank you for joining us online. Please share our Facebook post, go and like our page, join our Facebook groups if you haven't done that already, just to get connected. We want to get to know who you are. We want to make sure that we're able to share with you the things that we're doing and other ways that you can get connected with us. And also, we'd like to hear your feedback. Let us know how we're doing and how the worship experience is going for you. This virtual worship, something we have been toying around with for a little while, but this is new to us, doing this in a fully virtual format. So we want to hear from you on just how well the experience is for you and things that you would suggest or recommend for us to do better or differently. And as we're continuing through the COVID crisis, through what we're dealing with, we want to remind you, and there'll be slides, we'll reference it throughout tonight. There'll be slides at the end of the service to point you to the resources. But we do have a COVID hotline here at St. John's. You can call us at 919-834-2611. You can also email relief, as relief@stjohnsmcc.org. If you know of someone who needs assistance, we have a food pantry that is operating here 5 days a week. We also are serving hot meals 5 days a week. So if you know someone who could use that, or and also other resources, we can get you pointed in the direction of other resources if you need that. So please reach out to us if you or anyone you know is in need. We also invite you, as we're going through this, we've started a series called the Church's Response to Crisis. Looking at how the church over the years has responded to various crises, particularly the AIDS crisis, and then looking at how we're responding to the present-day crisis and the things that are going on. We have 2 more of those conversations that are going to take place with experts in various fields coming up on tomorrow and again on Friday. We'll be having conversations surrounding policy and politics, and then we'll also be talking on Friday with some healthcare professionals and the president of the American Nurses Association, actually, to talk with us a bit about how healthcare is impacted and things that we should know, facts that we should know about the virus, and how we as communities can continue to care for one another. So thank you again for joining us tonight. I am excited tonight as we continue this faith in action conversation we'll get to in just a moment, that we've got 2 people who are out on the front lines helping us make sure that the faith in action here is certainly in true action. As Fred shared with us a couple of weeks ago, the church has been deployed, and we have 2 of the folks who are the boots on the ground of that movement, making sure that we're able to do what it is that we have been called to do. So we have our Associate Pastor, Fred Kennedy Kelderman, here with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. And we've got our Pastor of Social Justice, Social Action, who is overseeing our Community Center operations, meal program, and food pantry, Rick Godet. So thank you for being with us tonight. And so we are going to continue. We started last week this conversation of faith in action. We'll continue that tonight. But I do want to go to God in prayer first, and then after we pray, you'll get to hear another beautiful virtual rendition done by the choir at MCC Toronto. I'm loving some of the music that's coming out of right now, because people are coming together and collaborating and creating some beautiful, beautiful pieces. So let us go to God in prayer. Gracious and loving God, we thank you for the opportunities you give us each and every day to continue to be Jesus with skin on, to be your love in a hurting world. We thank you for the opportunities you give us to go out and to be present with one another, virtually and through phone, and even in those cases where we are virtual or present with people in person. We ask, as we come to you in prayer tonight, prayers of protection, prayers of peace, prayers of healing over all of those who are on the front lines of this COVID crisis, our healthcare workers and the industry workers, grocery store clerks and truck drivers, all of those folks who are making sure that our essential needs are met, that are giving us the proper care and making sure that we as a community, we as a people can continue to live. Although it may be challenging and may be different, we ask that you will be with them and comfort them, give them strength as they go to work each day, protect them as they go to work each day. Let them know that they are loved and that their country, their nation, we as a people are eternally grateful for their sacrifice, for their families, for their loved ones who worry about their well-being each and every day. We pray, God, continue to be with communities of faith that find new ways to come together, to continue to show love in a hurting world. Continue to be with us as we deal with day-to-day impacts and the depression that can set in, and the times that just challenge us mentally, physically, and spiritually. Allow us to find ways to be there for one another. Allow us to find ways to be reminded of your love, your grace, and your mercy in those moments when we find ourselves questioning, when we find ourselves doubting, when we find ourselves in fear. Give us comfort, give us peace. When we find ourselves in those moments that we're getting anxious and overwhelmed, remind us to just stop and pause for a moment and take a breath. to breathe in the life that you have given us, to breathe in your Spirit, and then to breathe out all of that negativity, all of that anxiousness, all of that unknown and uncertainty. Allow us, God, in these moments to continue to experience your love, grace, and mercy in new ways. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I can offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there is no one there to dry your tears, I can hold you for 1,000,000 years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I will never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. No doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, and I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. There's nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of this earth for you to make you feel my love. Oh yes, to make you feel my love.
These songs that we're seeing coming out, and just the talents that people have are just amazing. And what an appropriate song as we talk about faith in action, to make you feel my love. When we look at what faith in action is all about, if it's not rooted in love, what is it for? And so thank you again for joining us. Thank you all for being here tonight. We are socially distancing. We do have masks on when we're not on camera and when we're moving about the space, so we are taking all the proper precautions that we can here to create safe space and to create an atmosphere that meets all of our standards that are out there. And so just want to make sure you know that as you're joining us on camera. So last week we started this conversation of just what faith in action looked like to us, what it looks like for us individually and as a community of faith. And the hope is that as we have this conversation that we can talk more about what faith in action really is and what that looks like, how that's lived out for us day to day, how we can help others to grow in that action as they move out on faith, how we as a faith community can grow into faith in action in new ways. And so part of it is just to share a bit of our story and our experience and learn from each other and as we go along this journey of doing life, doing church, being church as we move through these times that we're in. We talked with Fred last week a bit about faith in action and what that looked like here at St. John's, starting, 15 years ago, I believe?
Close to it.
Yeah, close to 15 years ago. Started with some hot dogs and sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and snack bags that we put together. And I think, what do we say, we're serving about 100 or so a month?
About 100 people, yeah.
And that's transformed into quite a bit more than that. But we started having that conversation, just talking a little bit about that. And Fred, you were the one that said a couple of weeks ago in service that the church has now been deployed. We started this idea that folks have said church was canceled, and we said, no, church has not been canceled, that we are not canceled. But talk to us a little bit more about what you meant by that church is deployed now.
So there's this old saying, you probably have heard it before, don't just talk about it, be about it.
There you go.
This is a prime opportunity in the midst of a pandemic for us as a church to really quit talking about our faith and actually do something about it. There's a meme on Facebook, this whole deployment thing came from, that said that the church is not closed, the church has been deployed. It's a prime opportunity for us to get out safely, still practicing social distancing, still practicing everything that we've been told and instructed to do. But it's an opportunity for us as a church to get out and live out God's word. It's an opportunity for us to take time to literally to check on people, to do things that we normally wouldn't have time to do because we say we're always so busy doing everything else. Well, sometimes God stops you for a reason. God has allowed a lot of us the opportunity to work from home. And if you're like me, even though you're working from home, you do have a little bit of downtime. It's a prime opportunity where you can take that time to do something. You can take time to call and check on someone. You can take your lunch break and go out and actually take a meal to someone. You can do things that we always told we don't have time to do. We have to set the time to do those things now. We have people within our congregation that we know are unemployed right now. It's an opportunity to help those people, to check on them, to help them possibly find employment. It's a time for us as a community of faith to actually come together and get out and do something about what the situation that's going on in the world right now.
Yes. Now, I love that notion that the church is deployed. That really speaks volumes. And as Fred said, there's many ways that we can connect. There's many ways that we can find ways to go out and to do church and do that safely. If you're not comfortable going out and serving meals, if it's not safe for you to do that, you don't have to do that. You can pick up a telephone, you can text, you can address envelopes and write messages, letters to people. As our moderator for the global church told us a few weeks ago, you can't necessarily hang an email on your mantle, but you can certainly put a postcard or a letter on your mantle, and so that sometimes is very important for us to do. So finding ways for us to be able to do that, I think, is really important, realizing that we all have a part to play, that we all can come together and do church. We can all come together and be about the church and implement this faith in action component. So one of the things that was remarkable to me, and we're going to talk some about some of the numbers here in a moment, but one of the things that's remarkable to me is to see how the community center that we're operating today and the meal program and pantry, how it has adapted and to today's operations with what's going on with COVID. But one thing I want to mention is it was interesting is what got the community center opening to start with was another crisis, albeit was not as great as this one. But we had a hurricane that came through a few years ago, I believe called Florence. Yeah, Florence, the Jeffersons' friend. But Florence came through, and so we decided, Mike, and you'll get a chance to hear from him more next week about some of that journey, but Mike called me or texted me, I can't remember which of the two it was, but he essentially said, this is what needs to happen right now because we're in, people are in need. We need the church open. We need to make sure they've got safe space to be, coffee and showers and a place to charge their cell phones. And so we did that. We came up here. Mike came up here. I came up here. A few other folks. We got the church opened, and essentially never closed.
You're right.
The center just never closed. And so it's offered numerous services over the course of the year, or a couple of years. We've been able to add things. We've now got this partnership where we're working with Loveland's Community Engagement Center, and the entire center now just really has transformed into all day and multiple services being offered. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is with the present crisis, Rick, what have you seen change from the people? What are the needs like right now? What are conversations you're having with those who are in need and looking for services right now?
Right. Well, one of the things I just want to say, first of all, is just being grateful to be able to serve what God has called me to do. Mm-hmm. It has really made me, I've had conversations with God one-on-one, just really stepping up my faith and reaching out and doing things I've been called to do. A lot of conversations in the community, a lot of the people we serve, of course, are homeless and do not have the resources such as TVs and everything. And I've had people ask me, what's going on, and can you give me an update? Some people just want you to pray with them. Mm-hmm. As far as food, we do have a lot of people now asking for food to get them through the next day mm-hmm. that may not be able to get transportation to come here from day to day. So a lot of those things is what's coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And one of the primary ways that folks are able to travel here is by bus. Mm-hmm. And so the city of Raleigh, I think, has done a good job. I want to give them kudos. They did make the buses free. They did reduce the number of hours or the number of service times. But I also was told the other day that, or earlier today, that they're now running 2 buses through here during peak times back to back, and trying to reduce the numbers of people getting on the same bus so that we don't overcrowd them. Yep. But either way, I mean, there's just no way to create proper social distancing in a city bus. Right. And I mean, we can do as much as we can, but there's only so much you can do, and so. One of the things that I had to realize is that although folks want to come and may have a free ride to get here, it may not be safe for them to do that. You think, we've got one older gentleman who's going through and presently, I believe, still going through chemo. It's not safe for him to get on the city bus right now. Some other folks that I know that are immunocompromised, that's just not safe for them to get on that bus. So finding new ways to figure out where they're at and make sure they get meals to them as well.
Right. That is.
So what are the present numbers right now we're serving when it comes to meals and food bags?
So let me, I'm going to back up a little bit to last year. At the end of the year for 2019, we had served over 16,384 meals. Currently to date, just in 2020, we're up to 9,120 meals.
So we've
present
already
to today.
You've already served as many meals through the half of the 4th month as you did.
Correct.
Okay, so you've served. Okay.
And what I've noticed also is a lot of the people that are showing up now are people I've never seen before. Mm-hmm. We're getting a lot of new people showing up, and a lot of the older have been either put up in hotels or have sought shelter somewhere else for safety. So with that, now that the word's out and we're providing these services, the numbers are going to double once this is over. And I'm just glad that we'll be able to bless everyone and do what we do.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we, with the present COVID crisis that we're dealing with, we're certainly dealing with the folks who have been sheltered in an early phase of folks who have been economically impacted by this. I don't believe we've seen the true wave of what that's going to look like. So we've had this, when we look at it from a crisis standpoint, we've seen this healthcare crisis that is spiking, hopefully is spiked, and we're going to start to see the downside of that bell curve. But the economic impact is coming, and we still haven't come to a place where you're seeing that impact. So what Rick's talking about is a lot of the folks, that we are serving every day are living in or experiencing homelessness, and a lot of folks have now been placed into hotels who are sick or who aren't sick, just to get them in a better place to be able to be quarantined or better cared for and self-isolated. But you're seeing some new folks start to come in who either are experiencing homelessness or newly experiencing homelessness or newly experiencing extreme poverty or food insecurity, I think. And so that's where your numbers are shifting a bit, and they're certainly not going down. And you're right, that's going to continue to go up, I feel, as we go through this crisis.
It is.
And so looking at ways, this is a great time not to say that this is all about trying to raise money, but this is a great time to point out that it is, the work that this community center does is solely supported by individuals. And so, if you have resources to give on our website, there's a list of resources that we can use. There's an Amazon shopping list, or you can donate. We have a COVID relief fund that is set up just to help make sure that we're able to see people through this present crisis. And so we want to make sure we're able to continue to do that. You can find that on our website, and I think Mike's got the images shown there now of the other ways that you can certainly do that. And again, it's important for us to know that it is by individuals coming together to make this work, and I've been very, very humbled by the number of things that are coming in.
Yes.
Fred, when you... I'm going to bounce back and forth a little bit. When you started this 12 years ago, when you started putting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich bag together, did you have any idea that it could grow into something like this?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I had no idea that we'd be sitting in the position that we are right now. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing to me. One of the ways that you can look at the growth that we've experienced is the fact that our pastor has had to move out of his office at least 3 or 4 times since we've been here. We created a food pantry that was literally in a small closet. Mm-hmm. We outgrew that closet, and the pastor had to move his office to put the pantry in his office. That happened twice, I believe, now.
Yes.
That he's done that. Now our pantry now is taking over our friendship hall.
Yes.
Because the need has gotten so big now, and we still can't keep up.
Yeah.
Something I'll add to that too, Fred, is I remember when we had all of this space and we were only using it on Wednesdays and Sundays for church services, and now we have run out of space.
Absolutely.
Yes. What would you say that the driving force behind the action? So this really is faith putting into action. What would you say the driving force behind the action that you're seeing is?
Passion.
I agree.
It's complete passion. I think I can speak for Brick and myself both. We have a passion for making sure God's people are taken care of, and you as well. Can't leave you out of the equation either. But we all have a passion of making sure that God's people are taken care of, whatever that need is, which is why our services have continued to increase the way they have. Because we started out with doing peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because there was a need for someone to have something to eat overnight. Well, then we noticed that during the daytime there were not enough services as well when it came to food. So that increased. Well, then we noticed that people need clean clothes. So we started providing clothing. Well, clean clothes, well, for one day is good, but after a while, those clothes get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They need to be washed. So we started taking care of people's clothes for washing. The services have continued to increase as the need continues to increase. And that's going to continue to happen.
Mm-hmm.
The more that increases, the more manpower we need. So if you have a passion for this type of work, I encourage you to get involved in that. And as Vance mentioned earlier, if the front lines are not for you, the back end is just as important, if not more important. As we mentioned last week, prayers are always good. Finances are critical for this work.
Yeah, there's many ways you can volunteer.
Yeah, that's one thing we do get caught up on in several levels is talking about volunteering, and we think automatically the only way to volunteer is to come in and to be present here. And for some people right now, that's just not even possible, even if you want to do that. And so one of the things we have to recognize, there are other things that need to be done. There are administrative duties that need to be done, and both here and remotely. So we need volunteers who are able to do a wide array of things. So don't feel like you can't be of use. Certainly reach out to us and let us know if you have a passion around trying to find a way to help. There's likely something that you can do that needs to be done right now. And God has gifted us with the abilities to do these things. That's the beautiful part of it, about putting our faith into action, having the faith to step out and to use the gift that we've been given. To use the gifts, Fred's talking about, stop talking about the work and be about the work, be about it. And so it is time for many of us, and I said the same thing when I came in as pastor here. We've sat on our blessed assurances long enough. It's time to stand up and do something. And so I agree with you. It's passion. It is passion and love that is continuous. The people is the important part of that. The people that's making this possible. Oftentimes folks will talk about it, and I like being able to do this in this context because I'm able to ask y'all some questions. People like to say, well, look at what Vance did, and look at what Mike did when we opened this community center, or when we did these things. Vance and Mike just said yes to what God was telling us to do. And Mike and Vance could not do what it's doing today if it wasn't for the people that are here that have made this possible. We couldn't do the work that we're doing today if it wasn't for the people that started this project, and you'll hear more about it next week, 16 years ago, and we wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for what started 44 years ago that started St. John's. Mike, you got something to?
Yeah, thank you for letting me butt in, but it's a great segue, because some of the people that are helping make this place happen are actually the people who are utilizing the services.
Yes.
And I'm hoping Rick can share a little more as we're seeing new folks who are starting to experience homelessness or housing and food instability, how we're working with the people who have done it before to help train and educate. Because you don't just all of a sudden end up on the street and know how to maneuver everything that's going on there. And I know Rick has a vast amount of knowledge and can share some, but we depend on the other people with the community center, and that's how we make it a community as opposed to a service center.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of the volunteers that volunteer here have been through something before, like homelessness, and they are a big resource and a big help to work with anybody that's here that's been through it. And it's taught me a lot. And I'm just blessed to be able to, like I said, be here and understand and learn and teach me, or God's teaching me how to be a better person serving Him and what He wants me to do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the exciting parts, I think, that we get to see, and I've gotten to see over the time, is that when we have somebody who's newly homeless, we've seen that over and over again, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's some folks who are very, very young who are experiencing homelessness, and it's been so moving and inspiring to see others to say, come let me help you out and let me show you what we can do. I can point them to resources. I can help them. Rick can help them. Fred can help them with resources and getting numbers. but most of those things take time. We can go out and try and find tents and tarps and all that, but I can't go find the spot in Raleigh where it's safest for you to put your tent. And we fortunately have some folks who can do that. We have folks who can share about, here's some do's and don'ts. We had one gentleman a year or so ago that came in and did a Camping 101 class for folks who were experiencing homelessness or may have been sleeping in tents, talking about some do's and don'ts of how to put your tent up and properly care for it, and some things that you could do with the resources that you had available to you. And it was inspiring to see folks caring enough to want to do those things. It's eye-opening to realize, and it's sad to realize that we have folks who have to do that. But it was comforting to see folks, even in the midst of their own struggle, in the midst of their own circumstances, that are still willing to be there for others. And again, just that core component of what faith in action looks like. And it's something that I think we have to realize that we get to do this thing called life with one another. We're not coming here to serve you. We're not coming here to be here for you. We're coming to be here with you. And that's a very important distinction. We are here with you in and through what you're going through, in and through what we can do. We're here with you. And I think that's really critical for us to be able to acknowledge and to share with one another. So when the other component of this that folks often ask, I think, is how do you make a decision to do this? Because it's easy for us to start to sound like, well, this, look at all our church is doing, and if your church isn't doing this much, I do hear folks say, well, why doesn't my church do this? Why doesn't? And I, one, I can't speak for your church, and this isn't everybody's calling. We all have our part, and we all have to find what that is. This church has a long history of doing social justice and doing it in this similar manner in the way of service to people and finding and meeting an evolving need. And so we have to, one, acknowledge that we're doing what we must do. We're doing what we're called to do. Mm-hmm. And I would encourage others, other faith leaders, other church members, if you want to see yourselves or your church doing more, find ways to, find the ways that you're called to serve. And know that looks, that can look very different for each individual community. And the other thing I would say is don't be scared to partner with other churches. That's one thing that I do think that sometimes we're afraid to partner with another church because we just aren't used to churches coming together in some cases. I don't know why, but don't be afraid. We've got several churches that we partner with that help make this possible. Again, this is a community effort. This is not just us. We've got folks like Pullen and folks like the Mennonite Church and Fairmont United Methodist and so many others that come together. Church in the Woods with Miss Alice and Johanna. We're able to come together, and then programs, community programs like Food for Thought, and Love Wins Community Engagement Center, all of the groups that come together to truly make this possible. But what would your, Fred, and then we'll go to Rick, what would your advice be to a faith leader or to a community leader that comes to you and says, well, how do I put faith into action in my community?
I would suggest start out by having conversations with your congregants. Mm-hmm. Find out, one, what their passions are. What skill sets do you have within your congregation? If you think about what some of the biggest needs right now for the community as a whole has been hand sanitizer and face masks. If you have people in your congregation who love to sew, get them together. If you have people in your congregation who are chemists, for example, make some hand sanitizer. Start out with baby steps. We start with the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and look what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. Start out with something small that your congregation can handle. Don't try to go out full steam ahead from the beginning, trying to think you can save the world. Mm-hmm. If you can help one person,
yes,
start with that one person and take it from there.
Yeah.
I agree with what Fred said. I believe find out what the needs are in your community. It could be different age groups. I know a lot of teens need support, and maybe they don't get it at home and need someone. But just find out the needs of your community and see what it is. And like Fred said, just take baby steps and just go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so finding out what the needs in your community are and finding out what the gifts of your people are. I have found more and more so that one of the biggest mistakes that a church can make is not utilizing people's spiritual gifts and realizing the breadth of what spiritual gifts can be. Mm-hmm. Sowing is a spiritual gift.
Absolutely.
I think that there's some biblical backing to that. Some folks that were making some clothes for some folks that didn't have clothes. And so, I mean, there's many spiritual gifts. So finding out what those are and realizing that as you give people the ability to use those, it grows your ministry, it grows your spirituality, yes. It grows your individual and your community's ability to grow in God. And so as you grow and work with your community, you grow as a community of faith. Across all faith backgrounds, you can grow as a community of faith as you embrace that, I think. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beauties of being able to see some of the folks who, when the community center opened, it started to open up new gifts or made us realize gifts that people had that we hadn't realized before, and other programs that have started since. And I've seen these folks that were kind of just here and going along and keeping up with what was going on, and then they just blossomed once they were able to start utilizing this gift that they had. And so I think that's beautiful when we're enabling people to do that.
That is true. I'm a perfect example because I searched to find out what my spot was in church and with the community. And I've always had the passion to help people. 10 years ago, I believe, I first met Fred and sent him an email saying, what can I do? What can I do more? And that was after going downtown and helping serve meals. But the same thing. I searched for a long time. And the thing is, never give up. Mm-hmm. I would start something, and I'm like, it's not quite my fit. And I would go to something else. But now I have found my spot. Mm-hmm. This is my passion. And I love what I'm doing, serving the community. And I say the community, but everyone that comes here, they're my family. They're my brothers and sisters.
Yes. Out of everything we're doing that you see through this Faith in Action project that we're continuing to live in, what is the most fulfilling part of that? We don't do ministry to be fulfilled, but a part of us doing the work that we're called to do is we are fulfilled in and through that. And it's back to that same mentality that my cup runneth over. I have to come back and let my cup be filled so that I can take it back out and pour it out, and then I keep coming back and refilling it. What is the most fulfilling part of this Faith in Action for you?
Just sitting back and observing. Mm-hmm. There are days I come up and I'll just sit in my car before I even come in the building for 15, 20 minutes, just sit and just watch those who are gathered and the conversations and the interactions that they're having with each other. Because that's another portion of Faith in Action that we don't really talk about a lot, is the fact that it takes faith for individuals to utilize the services. Mm-hmm. You're in a very vulnerable position. You're putting yourself out there, not knowing what to expect. Mm-hmm. When you step across that threshold, you don't know if you're going to be accepted for who you are or for whatever your situation is. So you have to have faith to put yourself out there to know that it's going to be okay. These people are not here to judge me. They're here to help me. And just looking at the conversations and the interactions that our community center individuals, our family have with each other, they have grown to become family within themselves as well. There's been major changes in some of the individuals who have come here. Mm-hmm. It has just been amazing to sit back and watch the kids, the infants. You just want to take them home with you and just, snatch them up. You know, Uncle Fred's here now. But they're family. They're all our family.
Yes.
That is true. Yeah, my joy is just being able to come here and fellowship with people during the week. As soon as you drive in, I mean, they're happy to see you. Like I said, we're family. And just being able to socialize with people and sit down and talk and assist in any way I can, whether it's helping fill an application or, you know, just anything, just wanting to talk. I wanted to bring up one thing. So there was a gentleman that was here, and just having a conversation with him, he had gone through a lot. And he found us through conversations with other people in the community, and he had recently lost his parents, and he was thinking about suicide at that time. Since then, we're his family. He is happy, and he is just blessed to be here and help in any way he can. And it's just us reaching out, showing the love, showing the passion, showing the care that has made a difference in his life when he was ready to give up. And he has found his home.
One of the things that that kind of talking about that to a degree, and tying back into the people who are here every day. When we switched over a few weeks ago now with the COVID crisis and things that were happening, we had to modify quite a bit of what we were doing, or the ways we were doing it. We're still providing the same meals we were providing before, just in different ways and takeaways, but they're still hot meals, and we expanded the food pantry operation quite a bit. I just had a conversation with the volunteer staff yesterday. We have here 2 part-time, very extremely part-time people who help make this work, that are paid to be here very, very little and very part-time. Every day we limited the number of people that can be in the building to 10 people at a time. It's a fairly large building, so that can create very safe, social distancing spaces. So 8 of those people who are here every single day from 8 o'clock in the morning until on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday till 7 o'clock at night are volunteers. Every one of them are folks who have been parts of the community in various ways that are here every day to make sure that we can do this. And I was talking to one of them, I'll call him out, Mr. Gregg, yesterday. He said, you know, when this thing happened, he knew that there was a need, and he was the first volunteer that stepped up and said, you know what, I'm here for the duration, what do you need?
He's been a blessing.
Major is here every day. He, whatever reason, he just loves washing dishes. That's his peaceful place. And so God bless him. I want to take him to my house. But he just loves doing that. Major is, and he's here every day, and he comes in at 8 o'clock in the morning, and he's here through mid-afternoon. And he's volunteer. He tells you if you've got an appointment, I won't be here till such and such time or what. He's very, very dedicated to this place because he loves it, and he loves what he does, and he loves the service to people. Major is 71 years old. 71 years old, and is here working every single day to make sure that this place stays open. And everybody that I've talked to is just so grateful that we're still able to be here and be able to serve these meals. And so the extraordinary passion and commitment and love of people that is shown is just so moving. It inspires me to be able to want to love more and find new ways, and challenges me to be a better person because I look at what folks are doing. And so I'm so in awe of the dedication and commitment of folks like yourselves and of the folks who are here every day making this possible. And that to me embodies what faith in action really is. When we look at moving our faith into action, it is finding that dedicated group of committed people, finding their spiritual gifts, finding what they are passionate about doing, finding the needs in the community around you and the needs in your own community, and figuring out how you connect all those dots now. So we've got this beautiful piece that we can sit down and we can find how to connect those dots. and we just continue to evolve and grow in ministry and continue to have the work of the church manifested in and through what we're doing. And so I think that, to me, embodies what faith in action is. Do y'all have any closing comments before we start to wrap up?
Well, I think it's important to mention that the community center is not just for the homeless.
No.
I want to make that point
true.
very clear, that this community center is not just for the homeless. This community center is for anyone who is looking for a place to find, they're looking for love. This is the place to go. Whether you're homeless or you kind of walking up in here in your Louis Vuittons or whatever.
Is that the red bottoms?
The red bottoms.
Red bottom.
It does not matter.
I knew what it was.
This is the place where you can come. This time, especially with this COVID-19 crisis, a lot of people are unemployed right now. If you're looking for a job, this is the place to come. We are here for whoever is seeking assistance. We're here for you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, that is not, it's not a homeless shelter. So we're absolutely, and that's part of the food pantry. We're serving what now, 80 families a week?
Yes. I had a family last week come up, her and her 5 children, and she needed food because she had become unemployed.
Yeah. So we've got food supplying for 80 households. We're also helping support several other pantries. We've got bilateral relationships with several pantries and organizations like the Interfaith Food Shuttle and Healing Transitions, and so we work together to help share resources to make sure we all have enough.
And also, we talked last week about adopting maybe a bus stop.
Yes.
And so I actually reached out today, was able to locate a location. So we are going to try to partner with them and be able to feed children that may not be able to get a good meal during the day at a bus stop. Yep.
Anything else y'all have to?
I just want to say one last thing.
No, you're fine.
So last Sunday after church, or it might have been Saturday night, Fred and his husband came over. We had dinner. Well, me and Fred had went to Sam's Club, and a young man met us in the parking lot, and he was asking for some money for food and I believe a hotel that night. I didn't have any money on me. Fred didn't either. So went home. Fred don't know this. I went up, took my piggy bank, got some money out. I went back and gave him money.
And I told your husband you probably did.
Yep. And that's what I did because that's my passion. That's what God's called me to do. I remember years ago, Pastor Brendan Boone made the comment about some people, when you pull up to a stoplight, might have a sign, and a lot of people will not give them money. It's not my place to ask what you're going to do with that money. I know I'm doing the right thing. I know what I'm doing. God called me to do. Because you don't know the situation of that person. So.
Yeah, you can certainly, and there's many ways we can do that. If folks don't have money to give, you can put care bags together. If you don't know what to put in a care bag, call us. We'll be glad to share with you what you need to put in a care bag to hand out to people. Mike, you've got something there to...
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on what Fred said and expand that, because we have lots of new people who are watching our videos.
Okay.
So they may not know who we are as a community, that we are a safe space for anyone. In fact, that's been a commitment by this church and this community forever, and very much lived out in our community center activities. There is nothing that you have done in life or is going on in your life that separates you from the grace and love of God and separates you from the grace and love of us. If you show up at our doors are open for you. And with that, there's a group of people out there that are really suffering right now, that have been in abusive relationships and now are trapped at home in abusive relationships. You have a place to come. We will help you. We will help you see through that problem and get into a safe space for yourself. Just find a bus and come here. Bus route 21.
Yep.
Come see us. We will make sure you're taken care of, because we don't believe anyone should ever be hurting, in pain, in danger. We'll help you figure it out.
Very true.
Yes, thank you. Do you have something else? Okay, yeah, thank you for pointing that out, Mike. That is very true. That's been the core of St. John's fabric, is to be a safe space for people. And we continue, folks. We started out as a church that was open and affirming for the LGBT community, and have continued to grow in that. We're not exclusively for the LGBT community. We're open to anybody who needs safe space, and that extended into what the community center does. And we realize that there is a huge intersectionality of people who are experiencing extreme poverty and homelessness that are in the LGBT community. About 44%, I believe, of the folks who that I know of that are here that are openly LGBTQ. And so I think that's important for us to realize that we all need safe space, and we all need non-judgmental safe space. So many folks are scared to come to a church. That Fred said it takes a great amount of faith to come here, because some people are scared to do that because they don't know what we're going to force on them. And that's the beauty of it. The only thing we're going to do is share love with you and a hot meal.
We'll hug you if we could.
And we'll hug you as soon as COVID is over. We did before.
They all appreciate it every bit of it.
Yeah, and that's just the thing, is we get to do that. And we do that with anybody. I mean, when our community center was operating under normal circumstances, as Fred and Mike have pointed out and Rick has pointed out, it didn't matter if you lived in the $500,000 houses across the street and walked over for a hot meal and dinner. Come on, there's no qualifications when you walk in the door that says that this is what it takes to come in. Come in and sit down and eat with us. We get to the joy of sharing with one another in meals and sharing with one another and learning from one another. I just that's one of the beautiful things about creating community, and I think that's what truly happens when you put your faith into action, is you create community. So. We're going to continue next week. We're going to talk a little bit next week. If you're interested to know more about how all of this came about, we're going to go back to about 16, 17 years ago when City on a Hill was thought up. Mike's going to talk to us a great deal about what that looks like. Mike is one of the architects of the City on a Hill Foundation's original blueprint. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. And dig a little bit more into giving you resources if you're interested yourself in getting involved or helping your faith community or your organization to move forward in putting your faith into action. That's what next week's conversation will be all about. And I think, I can't make promises, but I believe Mike's going to be down here with me next week. I feel a lot like Bob Barker. I just need a big spinny wheel. And Mike's the fellow that sat behind the camera all that years that talked, and then we finally got some glimpses of him towards the latter years, I think. I can't remember his name now. But if Price is right,
Rod
for those
Ronnie.
of you. Rob.
Was it Rod Ronnie?
Rod Ronnie, is that what it was? Anyway, so you'll get to actually see Mike and talk to him next week. So
We can say, Mike Gauss, come on down.
yeah, Mike Gauss, you're the next contestant
And I
on
just
the
want to
Wednesday
add-
night worship.
I just wanted to add to that too, Mike. When you meet him next week, Mike has been a true blessing to the community center when open. There's been many weekends and many nights that he has cooked some excellent meals and provided. So thank you, Mike. You have really been there for the community.
Yeah, we're going to stop talking about Mike now because I don't want y'all to see one of those cameras come flying towards the stage this evening. So we love you, Mike. We love all of you. Mike's going to say something. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, do remember I have the power up here. So if you really did bother me, I can mute you.
That's
I can
right.
take you off camera. I can shut the lights down. So you're still okay.
Yeah. So thank you for taking time to be with us tonight, Rick and Fred. Thank you, Mike, for all that you're doing behind the scenes. Thank you all for who are joining us on camera through virtual experience. Please feel free to share your comments, your questions on there. We'll go back and chat with you and talk with you more about those if you've got questions. Reach out to us. And again, if you've got a passion to give, got a passion to help us make what we're doing possible, please visit our website. Go to the stjohnsmcc.org. There's buttons on your screen there that will show you the different formats that you can give financially. There's a COVID relief fund that you'll find on our website. And then there's also other ways if you want to give through resources. There's lists of resources there and pretty much any shelf-stable goods that you could donate to the food pantry. Again, supporting about 80 families per week or 80 households per week, as well as about 600 hot meals that are being prepared and served every week. And support for other programs. So we thank you for your support. Without this, or without what you're doing, this wouldn't be possible. So we really, really appreciate that. And I love it. We get one care package, I think, about every week from the same individual, and it's usually a big box, and it's just full of cereal and other goods, and it's just so uplifting to see that box come in, because we know it's somebody that's giving and truly getting joy out of that. And they always put little funny, nice, cute stickers on the box and things like that to help us get a good smile in for the day. So thank you for what you're doing. If you have anybody who needs anything, please get them in touch with us, 919-834-2611, or you can email relief@stjohnsmcc.org. Thank you for joining us tonight. Join us for our other conversations. Join us for our worship this coming Sunday, and look at a list of everything we have going on here on our website. Like us on Facebook, share us on Facebook, and come and be a part of St. John's, whether it's here in person or virtually. We want to get to know you. God bless you. God love you, and we'll see you on Sunday.